reality is this is us just sharing of our conversations that we normally have together. So the disclaimers, don't take any of this personally. It is just our opinion.
If you are triggered, feel it. Triggers are opportunities to heal.
And look into why it is that you're triggered by us sharing our opinion about our experience being in the medicine world, doing our own healing, exploring what we've experienced, sharing what we've observed. Again, observed, not judging. We are not here to judge anybody. So,
well, and this is our healing journey, and these are the awarenesses and insights that we have had, again, personally and in working with soul brothers and sisters. And it's from our 3 to 5 hour daily practice. We are dedicated to us 3 to 5 hours every day to bring you this higher knowledge and wisdom, which we unravel through healing the unhealed traumas stored in our pain body. And this topic today is going to be a big one that, as I say, it's going to be one of the biggest blockages to really healing and coming home to your higher self. And what that means is embodying your higher self. One of the cognitive dissonance patterns, and before we get into that, I'll just share this as a little example to give you a segue into this theme, is this concept that we can never lose connection to our higher self. Our higher self's always there. We're connected to our higher self. We're whole. We're one. We're already divine.
we're already God and goddesses.
We don't have to heal. We're already gods and goddesses. And this is part of the cognitive dissonance because we have given our power to this belief that no work is required. We don't have to heal. We're just gods and goddesses. And our question is always, but wait a second. If it was that easy, then why are we all not walking around on the planet living from that higher God and goddess state, which is our higher consciousness?
Instead, we walk around like porcupines, just waiting for somebody to trigger us so that we can lose our shit on
or
that.
Triggering others.
So before we go down the pathway, folks, just so that you know, I know that there's quite a few of you who follow us every time we do a live. I know we've been missing the last week, and
not missing, we've been busy with retreats.
So we do run a retreat center so that everybody knows. So when there are clients in town doing a one-on-one retreat with us, we are not going to be online. Of course, we can't take the time away from the client. So we are going to try and do these as often as we can, at least every week. But if we can't, again, just bear with us.
We learn to flow. We're not set to a rigid structure.
Absolutely.
So cognitive dissonance, let's dive right in because there's a lot that we want to share about this. And to give you a brief definition of what cognitive dissonance is two contradictory beliefs. So now how does this tie into the age we are in and this journey, call it healing journey, an ascension journey, the great awakening journey, the journey home to your higher self? At the end of the day, and we've shared this in many lives before, we're not going to bore you with all the different things that are going on the planet right now that are part of this ascension journey. However, the key thing that is important here is that we have been living in a world of illusions. Illusions are not real. We have given our power to these illusions. We have believed them to be true and real, just like religion. That is the biggest illusion there is. So the best example of cognitive dissonance is, let's say I have been a Christian my entire life. I believe God is external from me. There is this man in the sky who is all judging, and he gets to decide when I die whether or not I go to heaven or hell. And then you come along and you burst my bubble of religion and you tell me that religion is a lie. Immediately I go into cognitive dissonance. Wait. I have two contradictory beliefs here. From the time I was born, my family, my grandfather was a preacher, society, everyone around me has given their power to this man in the sky. I remember
we're frozen up, eh?
We're not frozen here.
Okay.
So when we are unwilling to look at these
Bear with us for a moment, folks. We are
It's
just
technology.
frozen. So we are
No.
just...
We're not frozen on this. So just, we'll let it
Okay.
be. We'll be good.
All right. Not a problem.
If anybody we're not frozen now. So back to cognitive dissonance. When we talk about these themes and topics, technology doesn't really like it. So it likes to freeze. But when I get presented with this truth now about what religion really is, my brain goes haywire because it goes against everything that I was taught to believe, everything that I unconsciously gave my power to and believed to be true and real. And now I have to shatter that belief system. That creates cognitive dissonance, which is uncomfortableness, brings up a lot of fear, anxiety, shame, guilt, regret. Oh my God, how am I going to tell my family that I'm breaking free from this belief that I've given my power to, that they are still deeply embedded in?
And it's also part of what we're seeing in the world today. I mean, the reality of it is that we are living in a world where shit's falling apart. Let's be honest. And we are not paying attention. We are still, and again, this is my interpretation of cognitive dissonance, that I can see the financial system coming down. I can see the geopolitical situation in the world where the global south is splitting from the global north. And I still don't want to let go of what I have known. I still want to believe that no, the financial system is going to withstand this. It withstand it in 2008. We're going to do it again. We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to keep moving forward instead of looking at it realistically and going, oh shit, we're in trouble. What do we need to do to get ourselves, prepare ourselves for what's coming? So the cognitive dissonance is I am going to ignore what's coming. I'm going to ignore the signs that I'm seeing. And what I was sharing with Shelley recently is the supervolcano option. There is at least 6 or 7 supervolcanoes in the world right now that are active. There is, according to the volcanologists, there is at least 95% chance that at least one of them will explode. And yet, and this is what brought up the conversation, Mount Etna in Italy, people are actually going there and skiing next to a live super volcano. And one lady got stuck because she couldn't breathe because the air was too much. And she somehow felt shocked that, why am I stuck skiing here and can't breathe? Because I wanted to ski next to a super volcano that is 95% chance that it can go active at any point in time while I'm skiing. Or there's another incident where this Asian young man went and hiked to the volcano in Iceland that has been erupting, and he's doing selfies and feeding it live, and then they had to go rescue him. Mm-hmm. It's the cognitive dissonance that we go through life, not understanding what's happening around us, seeing it happening around us, and not paying attention to it, going, la, 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 it's not happening.
But do we really see it?
That's a good question.
That's the question I have, because I really have to question, are we living with our eyes open? And I'm referring to these eyes, because these eyes are what we see our reality through. And now I know you've heard us talk about the ego and the trauma self before. The ego is not conceited ego. Ego is your false identity that has been created to keep you safe from feeling the pain of trauma. It's your trauma self. So one of the things is that when we only see through our 2 eyes, we're seeing through the veils of those trauma selves, because every trauma self has been created because we lost connection to a part of our higher self due to a trauma when the higher self fled from the scene of trauma. So our trauma self is now taking over that part of the body where the impact of pain occurred, where the trauma occurred. Trauma self is controlling and reigning over the body from the reptilian brain, which is what keeps us stuck in a fight, flight, freeze state. And every trauma self creates a veil over all of our body's senses. So there's a veil over our eyes, there's a veil over our nose, mouth, ears, skin. So we feel, see, smell, taste, and hear a small percentage of the actual reality. We're receiving and perceiving reality through these veils. And these veils are what create the illusion, which is Maya. And that's really what we're here doing, is breaking free from Maya. And we do have an advantage right now during these next 2 years with the solar flares, because what are the solar flares doing? Dropping the veils, they're popping them. And a lot of this is why we're seeing Epstein and all these different things. And look at what Trump and RFK is doing and exposing with chemtrails and the vaccines and food and da 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 da. A lot of shit is being exposed right now, which is bursting a lot of people's bubbles. Wow, I didn't know that. Let's chemtrail example for one.
That is right there is a good example of cognitive dissonance.
Oh, those are clouds.
And I have a friend of mine who flies private jet. He's a professional. He's educated. Went to University of Alabama. He flies for one of the most expensive private jet planes in the world. And he, as a pilot, doesn't believe in chemtrails. No. Those are condensation. It's just like, excuse me. The United States owned a patent on chemtrails. We are experiencing it right now. We are supposed to be in our summer months right now, and it hasn't stopped raining.
Well, one of the things we loved about living where we live is no chemtrails up until January.
Yeah. Well, December, we went to the beach for the first time when summer officially started. And we looked up in the sky and I'm like, oh, fuck, they're spraying the sky. And the next day it started raining, and it has been raining on and off. Again, we've been here for 3.5 years. And in the 3.5 years that we've been living here, from December until end of April, we're lucky to see 5 days of rain. It's sunshine and wind every day, with the odd days of rain. Instead, we're lucky if we see sunshine maybe a full day. Most of the time it's half a day because it's going to rain. So people are not paying attention that, wow, our climate is being geoengineered. We are seeing the storms. We're breaking record after record. Heat, flooding, snow in places they've never seen snow. Freezing areas in the Midwest and areas like that they've never seen this cold. Snow on Destin Beach. I have walked on Destin Beach. Yeah. Snow on Destin Beach. So we're seeing things that we haven't ever seen in our lifetime, and yet we still believe, oh no, it's not chemtrails. That's conspiracy theory.
Well, it goes in one ear, out the other. But oh wait, no. It can't even go through the ears because the veils are blocking it. So even when we hear these things, I can't hear it. I don't want to hear it. And this is where discernment comes in, because my question, and this is the number one question I use for discernment, is this my trauma self or is this my higher self? Because our trauma self does not want to see or hear the truth of reality. It can't, because it has the veils, and the veils keep you perceiving reality through whatever the veil tells you. So if you believe there is this God in the sky who is all judging and is going to dictate whether or not you go to heaven or hell when you die, that is going to be your belief until you die. And anyone who comes along and proposes a different theory, you are going to fight. And as I like to say, and we've experienced this with people's trauma selves, literally, it feels like an Agent Smith rises up and defends and fights for the belief that they want to hang on to.
Because it changes their life.
Fight for religion, even though religion is made up. There isn't a man in the sky who dictates whether we go to heaven or hell.
A vengeful person at that.
Exactly.
Now, did we not have a couple? We had put out the call that if anybody had any questions regarding something like this.
We do. And we're going to get to those questions.
Not a problem.
So, and that's one of the things so why cognitive dissonance? Well, let's take it back to, why are we in the state that we are in today? Why are we in such a low state of consciousness?
Well, spiritually, or, any way we look at it, from environmentally, Mother Earth has never been this depleted before. We are in part of that 12,000 year cycle, all of those stories that we're not going to go into. But the reality of it is that we have gotten to this place where we have disconnected from our higher consciousness.
Well, we're in Kali Yuga. And if we look, and it's a clear, doesn't matter whether it's spiritual, physical, that doesn't matter. The truth of the matter here is, and this doesn't ask you to be a Hindu to believe in the yugas, because Hinduism is also a religion. the roots, the essence, the knowledge and wisdom that has been passed down through this packaged religion called Hinduism was the truth before Hinduism became a religion. It's called Sanatana Dharma, the oldest book in the world. And it was never a religion. It was a way of being. So in Hinduism, the yugas are just time cycles that have always been there. Just like we go through 4 cycles of life, Mother Earth also goes through 4 cycles of life. Humanity goes through 4 cycles of life. And we are in the very last stage of these 4 cycles of life.
Well, the books that you refer to, the Vedas, that are over 2,500 years, or at least that's their carbon-dated version
what
of
those
how
who
old
rewrote
those books are.
History told us.
The reality of it is that they talk about these 4 stages, and we see it in modern day. It's the Iron Age, the Industrial Age. We're about to enter now the Tech Age. So we are going
those
through
are the
these
micro stages within the Kali Yuga.
So there are stages, just like how people say that, well, in Hinduism, they have that, not that we're preaching Hinduism, but in Hinduism, they have a caste system. And that's not good. They're having a caste system. And if we look at the reality is that life has a caste system. We talk about the caste system all the time. Middle class, lower class, 1% class. Isn't that the class system? So that is also part of the cognitive dissonance, is not being able to see that we're saying that these things isn't right and shouldn't be happening, but we're living in it and not realizing that the same things we're saying that I'll use the caste system as an example. Well, a caste system isn't good, and everybody shouldn't be born in the same. And if you're born there, whatever the story and the fight you have, but you live in a caste system, you'll be either considered poor class or lower class, middle class. We use those words every day, or upper class, 1 percentile, the whatever class they are.
And we're not promoting a caste system at all, but we have to look at how we actually contribute to that. If you don't want to be in a lower caste or class, you can make a choice and get out of poverty.
Absolutely.
We've given our power. And this is the thing with where we are at in today's state of the world. Everyone wants to complain that we're living on a prison planet and it's the 13 families who have control over us and da 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 da. And while we're not saying that that's not true, that does exist in the world, that's never going to change if we don't do something to change it, because we are part of the problem. We contributed to it being that way. So we can't just sit back and complain about it and wait for someone else to come along and take out the 13 families for us to live happily ever after. We gave our power to all of these different systems that make up this false matrix. And
pretending it doesn't exist doesn't exactly make it go away either.
And we're never going to be free if we don't face this cognitive dissonance head on. Why is it so difficult to see that, for example, if we question, well, why is there evil in the world? Because this is one of the things that on this journey of freeing yourself from Maya or illusion, you will become a conspiracy theorist. I shared a meme in my Telegram channel the other day that basically said that you will become a conspiracy theorist on this journey, because you have to begin questioning everything.
Absolutely. Because and that is, again, going back to I know this is just sidestepping a little bit, but even the term conspiracy theory was coined by the CIA to discredit anybody who questions the narrative that they want you to believe. Well, you're a conspiracy theory.
And that isn't sidestepping. I actually wanted you to say that. So thank you.
So this is exactly where we're at. So we just get labeled when we question chemtrails. Oh, well, you're a conspiracy theorist.
An immediate rejection and resistance. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want anything to do with you. Wait.
Talking about what's happening on the planet, the 7 major super volcanoes that are currently active, the earthquake storms, the solar flares, the dramatic change in climate, the collapse of the AMOC system. Oh, well, you're doom and gloom. And it's like, but you're living it. We can open our eyes and turn on our computers and our smart devices and our social media and see what's happening in the Middle East and still tell ourselves that, wait, that's not genocide? Are you serious?
And that doesn't affect me. I don't need to know about that.
No. That has nothing to do with me. Just leave me alone. And as one of my nephews said when I reached out to him about healing, Uncle, look, it's all good. As long as I get paid and I'm making money, I don't care what's going on in the world.
That's the mentality of humanity. How are we supposed to rebirth a new earth and move into a higher frequency when we are so addicted to living in cognitive dissonance? I don't want to know.
Yep.
I don't want to see. I don't want to hear. It's just about me. Do I still get my money and can I survive? That's all I care about.
This one nephew that I'm referring to is the kind that will go to Mount Etna and go skiing by a volcano, by a live volcano, and wonder,
Oh shit, there's a volcano exploding
when,
right now.
exactly,
Why?
when somebody has to go rescue you, you're like, oh, but I didn't think it would happen. This is the cognitive dissonance that we
Which
live in.
ties into the entitlement wound that, well, I'm now entitled to put someone else's life at risk to come save me because of my ignorance
Yep.
and lack of awareness of what is going on in the world, because it's all about me and I want to go have fun. You know, there's this joke that I've always told that, you know, this level of cognitive dissonance or ignorance, because again, no judgment, no shame in being ignorant. We all begin as ignorant. We have to break free from our own ignorance. And ignorance is cognitive dissonance. And in breaking free from it, the joke is the animals are leaving the beach.
Absolutely.
We're not paying attention and going, wait, why
We're
are all the animals leaving the beach? Meanwhile, we're headed to the beach. We can't even see a mile off in the distance that there is a 1,000-foot tsunami coming our way. Nope, we're going to have a great time at the beach. Let's drink our cervezas.
I'm going to set up my umbrella and get my tan on. Oh, wait, why is the ocean receding back? Oh, that just means more sand for us to go running on. Not paying attention. And this is how humanity, unfortunately, is living life today. We live life in such cognitive dissonance, disconnected from reality, living in our own world, driven by what?
Money.
Our trauma self, our
and greed
ego,
and power, all those ego vices.
that we can't see. We're so fearful of seeing life. And again, disclaimer, when we share these things with you, we're not asking you to live in fear. We're not asking you that.
But we've been called fearmongers quite often, simply because we are here to drop the veils and invite you to see reality for what it actually is.
Like I tell my wife all the time, there has been we hear the term, we've heard it all our lives growing up, live today as though it's your last. Everybody has heard that. Live today as though it's your last. I will fathom to say that there has been no other time in recent human history that is not most prevalent than what we are experiencing today. Every time we get in our vehicles and we leave home to go somewhere, we treat this as though this is our last time going somewhere. Every time we go to the beach or go to a waterfall, we treat it as though this is the last time we may have this opportunity. And why do we? And again, we're not living in fear. We're just immerse ourselves in whatever experience, totally present where we are, what we're doing. So it's not as though we're sitting on the beach and we're on our smartphone and we're scrolling through Instagram or whatever on Facebook. And in the meantime, a dolphin is jumping in the water, a whale just beached, a kid just laughed and did a flip. And we didn't see any of that because we're buried here.
Or a monkey did something funny that we missed.
But we're at the beach though. So we are not really being present, and not only about where you are, but the people that you're with, to being present, fully present with that person that you're with, because you're so occupied thinking elsewhere, looking distracted everywhere else. That is also a form of cognitive dissonance.
Well, and what's the root of cognitive dissonance? This comes back to the trauma self, but why do we have so many trauma selves? Because we're disembodied. Why are we so disembodied? Well, coming back to Kali Yuga to bring it full circle, during Kali Yuga, the final fourth cycle of life, we're only 25% connected to our divinity, our higher self and higher consciousness. So this statement that I shared at the beginning that I hear often, which is a spiritual bypassing trap of, I don't have to do any work. I don't have to heal any traumas. I'm already whole. I'm already divine. I'm already in my highest potential. How can you be when all of humanity is living in Kali Yuga, which means all of humanity is only 25% connected to our divinity.
And I will go further than that. I will say that number is even less than that, because we are towards the end of, according to a few people who have done the history and done the studies on it, we are at the end of Kali Yuga. We are talking about it in the spiritual world. You hear people talking about this 3D, 5D separation, the split,
Timeline
ascension,
split.
all these different things. And again, previous recordings with us, you have heard us talk about, you can see it happening geopolitically, you can see it happening in different things. But here is where I'm going with this. Our reality is, in regards to what you're saying, we are also seeing, and this is cognitive dissonance, that people are sitting back and going, well, these solar flares will just automatically upgrade me. I'm having a DNA upgrade. I don't have to put in any work. I don't have to do any shadow work. I don't have to look at myself. I don't have to journey internally. I don't have to do any self-mastery or self-discipline. I don't have to have a practice. I don't have to do any self-healing. I could just go around with my deeply traumatized self, never having addressed any of it. And whenever this split happens, whatever it's going to look like, because we'll be honest with you folks, we have no idea. We don't have a crystal ball. We have no idea. This is another reason that we call ourselves ascension preppers, because we are preparing our bodies and mind for whatever comes, whatever that is. If nothing comes, we're prepared. We're having the best life that we've ever had. We're having our best relationship.
Well, in the meantime, our solar flare is not coming.
But
and our solar flare is not impacting our body, our emotions,
absolutely.
Our health. So it's the preparation. It's not necessarily preparation for one big massive event.
It's a continual preparation.
It's a continual preparation. And ascension is a continual. It's not one day a massive Pleiadian starship is going to arrive and pick up everybody and they're going to ascend to another planet. Like, this is part of the cognitive dissonance too.
So this is one of the things that Shelley and I often talk about. I would love to be able to have a conversation with one of these starseed, Pleiadians, whatever labels that people want to call themselves, who are just waiting for an automatic DNA, or what's even worse is what we have been hearing online lately, is everybody seems to think that they're already in 5D. And I'm sitting here going, wait, what? You talk about cognitive dissonance. You're already in 5D. Oh, yeah. I heard a very educated person saying that the other day, that, oh, yeah. We are already in 5D. We've already made this ascension jump. And I'm like, did I miss the note on that day? Because we are putting in between 3 to 5 hours of our self-practice and our self-mastery every day. We are still connected to this earth. We still see the wars. We still feel for the people who are involved in them. We still feel for the people who are living on the streets and the vets who are no longer getting service from their government. We still feel the pressures of inflation and money and what happens if the monetary system crashes down.
There's still survival fears, are there not?
So how could you be in a fifth dimension? Because again, my understanding, and again, I'm not an educated person to be able to argue with anybody, but I would love to have this conversation. This is my 3D reality. So my 3D reality includes triggers, traumas, the fact that there are some concerns about what the future is going to look like. There's concerns about what the weather is going to look, or if one of these super volcanoes go off, what's going to happen, not if, but when. So if I'm in the fifth dimension, that means I am two frequencies, and that's really all these dimensions mean. It's a frequency upgrade, right? So if I'm in two frequencies above what I'm experiencing right here in 3D reality, my logical way of thinking of this is that means that this stuff that's happening here on this earthly plane in this 3D construct that I'm wearing should not affect me. If I'm in a fifth dimension, it means that I'm now two frequencies higher, which means this physical body should really not matter to me. The house, the car, none of this should matter to me because I am two frequencies higher.
Absolutely.
And if I'm two frequencies higher, that means anything that happens in this three-dimensional experience shouldn't bother me. So all the people who are claiming that they are in already fifth dimension, and oh yeah, again, I will always refer to this one gentleman I used to follow in TikTok, who he is in Costa Rica, an Australian gentleman who's a psychic and whatever else he labels himself, that he communicates from this fifth dimension. And I questioned him. I'm like, brother, can you explain to me how are you communicating with me? Because I can acknowledge that I am still in this three-dimensional experience because I'm experiencing everything. I turn on the news, I see what's going on. I have friends who are losing jobs. I have concerns about what our future looks like. So if I am putting in all this work and I can still feel very much as part of this three-dimensional, how are you moving into telling your followers that you're already in 5D? And if you're two frequencies ahead of me, how are you communicating with me? Because I should not have to be able to see you or hear you. And his response was, oh, I just come into this channel just to be able to communicate and step back out. And I'm like, what?
So you share the very logical masculine. Okay, A plus B doesn't add up. And I'll share now the feminine or the more spiritual aspect of things. And there are monks who talk about this, that yes, there is a timeline shift occurring on the planet. A lot of people are discussing it. But again, from the spiritual feminine aspect, from the body portion, if the fifth dimension is 2 frequencies higher than the third dimension, and we don't need this physical body, then don't you think we have to actually shift our frequency to, just like on a radio? So let's say this third dimension, we're tuned into 90 FM. The fifth dimension is 107 FM. How do we go from 90 FM all the way to 107 FM without changing the dial on our radio and changing our frequency?
Well, I have 2 answers for you.
Okay, share that. And then I have another analogy, so don't get too lost on any tangents.
1, well, one of the chosen 144,000.
Yeah, well, about that.
So I will automatically get that. Or 2, or my DNA will automatically update.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about. So coming back to my first tangent is coming back to the consciousness scale. We've all seen the consciousness scale, 0 to 1,000, shame, guilt, all of these lower frequency emotions are at the bottom. Peace, unconditional love, harmony, unity, wholeness is 1,000. It's at the top. Our bodies, and again, I wrote somatophobia. I can't remember the doctor's name who wrote The Body Keeps the Score. The body holds every single memory through the fascia. It's the sacred record keeper of every memory of our soul. If we have unhealed traumas, they have attached emotions such as shame and guilt and fear that's stored in our body, which means that this physical vessel that has been going through the 3D reality is tuned to those emotional frequencies. Shame and guilt, they're right down there at the bottom. They're like 20 or 40 in terms of the consciousness scale. So how, with shame and guilt and fear stored in my body, which keeps me at this frequency, this lower state of consciousness, how am I going to just poof, like the magic dragon, be in the fifth dimension without addressing any of this?
It's an automatic upgrade, don't you know? Didn't you get a note?
I didn't get the note because I've been on a journey of, okay, I know that I'm the creator of my reality, but the law of attraction and The Secret did not work for me. I tried it for years when it first came out. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense that I can just sit in the comfort of my living room and
put up a vision
I am
board.
Abundance. I am wealthy. I deserve money. And magically, my financial reality is going to change somehow.
95% of the people never worked.
And this is what led me on this journey of I have to change my frequency to be in alignment with the frequency of abundance. I can't just do another system or program or go to this seminar and magically, oh my God, my chiropractic practice is going to be making me millions of dollars.
Because you're looking in the mirror and telling yourself you're abundant. It's not
right.
working.
Or I'm going to a seminar and trying on what another doctor did in his practice, because I see it all the time with my colleagues on Facebook. Someone will post, oh, how to make 6 figures in your practice. And everybody send it to me, send it to me, send it to me, send it to me. And that's why we're controlled by money.
But if you post on the same Facebook page or whatever it is, that if you heal, you'll be able to generate more income.
Because you have to align with the frequency of abundance.
You get crickets.
Crickets. Nobody wants it. Nope. I don't want to do the work. Nope. I want to do this system or program that promises me I'm going to make 6 figures in my practice. And therefore I'm going to be out of my debt. Like, it doesn't work. I tried that shit for so many years and I got frustrated and burnt out. And that is where my higher self was like, Shelley, you have to tune yourself to the frequency. Okay, well, how do I do that? Because I don't have a magic ball to just wave my hand over and poof, I'm at a higher frequency.
Well, and if we did, just like you were talking about the fact that to shift into this fifth dimension, how do we do it? To change your frequency to be in alignment, Stoicism calls it the law of, what is that again? It'll come back to me.
Relative. There's a lot of laws.
So the reality of it is that, like you said, how do we shift? If we could easily just say a magic word, look ourselves in the mirror and say it, or do whatever story that's being told out there is let me show you how to do this quickly, then so many people would have already shifted, no?
Don't you think?
So many people would be healed, living higher frequencies, living abundant life. Why isn't it around us? Why are we not seeing it around us?
Well, and again, a question I have for everyone who thinks they're just going to magically ascend. And again, the Shaolin monk out of Germany, he says it as well, that in order to shift timelines, you have to be putting in the work. It's not just, we're not entitled to it.
But it seems to be that this is the world that we live in.
Due to cognitive dissonance.
That we are entitled to everything that is we require no work. I should be able to have love without even looking at myself and loving myself. I should be able to have abundance without ever really being abundant within myself. I should be able to have whatever I want with absolutely no work. It should just, I'm a good person and I should just be handed to me.
Well, and this brings me to the healing perspective side of things about how we have cognitive dissonance even in our healing.
Absolutely.
And this is why so many people get triggered when I question them. Okay, so you do this modality or that modality or whatever modality it is working for you. Oh yeah, all my modalities I do work. No. Let's really take an honest look at what modality you're doing. If you are doing a modality that requires you to give your power to someone else for them to put their hands on you to facilitate healing, that's not working because you're giving your power away. If you're doing a modality from your reptilian brain, you're never changing your state of consciousness, but your ego, trauma self in that reptilian brain state tells you that you're magically healing because, you read something and, I let go of that. But you let go of it from your reptilian brain. Did you drop into your body and let go of it? So a really clear example is right now in my sisterhood, I empowered my sisters to vote on a theme for March's womb Kriya ceremony things. So inner child is what came up. Okay, we're going to dive into the inner child. Let's go into that because, our inner child has been locked away behind a cage to keep our inner child safe so that our inner child does not get hurt from all the traumas we are experiencing. Trauma after trauma. The more trauma selves our ego creates, those trauma selves are the bars on the cage to keep our inner child pure, innocent, and safe. So one of the sisters actually shared, I've done inner child work before, but I never met my inner child. But I think this time it's going to be different because now she's actually in her body. And that's the question that I posed to her. Okay, so how can your inner child is locked away in a cage within your body, wanting to come out, but it can't because it's been in this cage, this prison, to keep the child safe. How, when you do inner child work,
where are you doing it from?
Shadow work, any kind of this work from a purely mental, logical state, the state of consciousness you're in on a regular basis is a lower state of consciousness. It's the fight, flight, freeze state that your nervous system is stuck in. It's from the reptilian brain. If you're not in your body, how are you ever going to free your inner child? If you're not de-armoring and tearing down those bars on the cage around your inner child, how are you ever going to meet your inner child?
Well, it goes back cognitive dissonance, like you and I always talk about. So we have these conversations with people who show up with our book readings or different ceremonies. We are the arresting officer. We are the jury, the judge, the warden, the prison guard, and the prisoner.
And we have the key in our hand.
And we are the only ones who can free ourselves from our self-imposed prison, but we think that somebody else has got us locked away.
Yeah.
Cognitive dissonance.
And we're waiting for somebody else or something else to come along and do it for us.
Huh?
Now, the second tangent I wanted to go on is about the DNA upgrades. Now, while every life form on the planet is receiving the solar flares, these high frequencies that are flowing into Mother Earth right now, every life form is receiving DNA upgrades. Yes, that is occurring. However, what's the cost of those DNA upgrades?
How do you know you're receiving them? From a mental state?
Well, it's occurring in the background, so people can't feel their DNA being upgraded. But when you are embodied, you can actually feel your DNA being upgraded. Now, the thing is here, though, that in order to receive that DNA upgrade, what is the cost? There is a sacred exchange for everything.
Like everything else in life.
So just because the high frequencies are flowing in, your DNA is reorganizing, recalibrating, it's upgrading, it's got to toss some shit out. So a purge comes along with the DNA upgrade.
Absolutely.
A purge of either physical pain or symptoms, emotional pain or symptoms, mental pain or symptoms, energetic pain or symptoms. I mean, I've got this pain in my arm today. It's just like, it's an energetic pain, but I keep feeling it. It's like, okay, yeah, solar flares, there's strong solar winds coming in. It's your sacred secretion tomorrow. There's a lot of alignments. It's new moon today. So there's a lot of cosmic alignments that for most people, they're just going through life not feeling anything. For us, we're aware of, oh, yep, we can feel these energies flowing into our body. So we can feel the DNA upgrade.
Well, and for us, but let's be clear about that. For us, the DNA upgrade looks like what? It shows up as pain in the body. It shows up as, wow, why am I so short? Why do I feel so triggered? Why is it that there is a lot of things that are making us uncomfortable? And that's how you and I differentiate.
That's the
and go,
purge.
I bet you there was a solar flare. Sure enough, we go online and look, yeah, there was a solar flare a day or two ago.
And look, we just had a brother who, he's consumed a lot of these sacred medicines recreationally to the point of misusing and abusing them. And now, no, I don't want to do any of those drugs, as he calls it. And it's like, wait, hold up. There's a big difference. And this is another version of cognitive dissonance. So those drugs were medicine when you were consuming them recreationally. But now that we're inviting you to consume them in sacred ceremony with an intention to check in rather than check out, with an intention to heal rather than to numb or escape. No, I don't want those drugs. Well, wait a second. They weren't drugs when you were using them recreationally. Funny how that is. So we use cognitive dissonance to reason, justify, and deny that which our trauma self doesn't want to see. So with the DNA upgrades, there is going to be a purge. For him, he feels lost. He has no purpose in life, just feels like
drifting.
Which way do I go? Yeah. What do I do?
And a lot of people are going through that right now. A lot of people are either experiencing some sort of disembodiment, even more so than they felt. Disassociation with life, questioning, why am I here? Is this, I just set one of my brothers a question. And I go, do you ever look at life and wonder, like, was this your purpose? You look around at the rest of our siblings and you start seeing their life and you go, was this it? This is what I showed up on this planet to do?
And people want to fight a lot more. I've been steering clear of the online forums simply because anything I'll say, it's like people just want to fight. They get offended. Yep. They're walking, talking triggers.
Even then when you give them a disclaimer and go, this is simply my opinion. It is my observation. I am not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. This is simply my observation. No, you can't believe that and you can't say that. How can they
sharing knowledge and wisdom to empower humanity. That can be triggering. And this is cognitive dissonance. So now the questions. The main one is, how do I navigate all these emotions that show up when I'm popping through these veils of illusion and I'm seeing videos that go against what I've been taught to believe, that go against what my family believes, that goes against what I thought was the nature of reality.
So how do we navigate it? You navigate it simply by recognizing that, look, I know nothing. We question everything. Trust me when I tell you, we question everything. Is the world round? Is it flat? Is there life beyond the ice walls? Is there other dimensions? Is there other beings that are living in mountains? Is there tunnels under the world? Is there alternate reality? Because even for people like us who are doing the work and who are dedicating ourselves to our self-healing, this is our full-time job. We have literally checked out from society and says, we're done. We're done in the corporate world. We're done trying to chase money. What we do is simply helping ourselves and helping humanity. So we dedicate ourselves. So we see all these things coming at us that makes us question everything. And this is the state that we are in now, where you should question everything, but don't be attached to any one thing. Like you say best, flow. What works for me? What makes me feel good? Not in a what I'm programmed to feel good about, but what does my soul feel? If I hear something, if I read something, I feel the vibration of that.
Well, hold that thought, because that ties into the next question. How do you discern what is true and real if there's so many trauma selves? How do you feel if you're disembodied? So how do you even begin coming out of cognitive dissonance from a trauma self state? And
this is the journey.
For both of the questions, how do you navigate all the emotions that arise? How do you discern between what's true and what's not true? Daily practice. If you do not have a daily practice that is guiding you into your body, where you are transmuting the pain body that's associated with the trauma self that keeps you stuck in your reptilian brain and lower state of consciousness, then you're never going to be able to discern. You're going to be trying to discern. It's like my cesspool analogy. Yeah. I'm in a cesspool, but I'm trying to discern whether or not I'm in a cesspool. How's that gonna work?
So the navigation for us, and we can only speak for us, the navigation becomes where I can consume a lot of information, but how much of it I really hold on to? I look at everything as, that's interesting.
It's neither right or wrong.
It's interesting.
It's not good or bad. It's interesting. Leaves it open.
So we are going to literally, we've put it out there. This is not about whoever wants to get offended, be offended. We are literally talking about a mass extinction of the Palestinian people. We're putting it out there. Trump just said it. Wipe them all out. Send them to other countries. Get rid of them, because we're going to turn this into a real estate deal.
Take. It's occurring here on the lands here as well.
So you can have a choice. You can either allow yourself to be caught up in that, or realize that, okay, you know what? Whatever needs to happen, I can still feel empathy, but I'm not going to let that control who I am or what I do. That's not saying that I don't want to know. I'm just going to bury my head. I don't want to watch any videos with that. I don't want to hear about it because it's going to spin me out. No, you can't run away from it. You still have to look at it, and you have to take it internally. If you have a daily practice and go, let me see what this feels like internally. Let me play with these emotions while I'm in my practice. Let me think some of the thoughts of some of the ideas that I've heard and try it on and see how it feels in me. Does this feel like truth to me? Not programmed truth, but higher truth. Well, how would I be able to differentiate that if I'm in my reptilian brain trying to process it? This is why it's so important to have a daily practice, because in a daily practice, if you're doing a practice, what we do and what we recommend the people who talk to us do, which is pushing your body to the uncomfortable places, pushing your mind into uncomfortable places, self-mastery. And once you're doing that, neuroscience tells us this, that anytime you do anything that is uncomfortable, whether it's a thought, whether it's a process, whether it's a breathing technique, whether it's a yoga position, whether it's laying on a bed of nails, every time you consciously do something uncomfortable, you are literally growing the midbrain.
So then my question for you is, from a disembodied state, laying on a bed of nails, is it growing the midbrain still?
You still are.
If you're disembodied.
But if you're disembodied, because remember, that's the pressure of what's going on in the mind.
Because there's a lot of, and this kind of ties back to cognitive dissonance, and this is another deep dive portal, because there's a lot of people that come to our womb kriya, hara kriya ceremonies. They've attended for over a year. They're going through the motions. They're doing things uncomfortable. They're pushing their body, just like in the gym. People push their body to the limits, but is their midbrain really growing? Because if they're not embodied, I lived in the gym. So this is where my analogy is coming from. And this is to help you all discern, am I doing something, just going through the motions, or am I actually in my body? Because to create the neural network to get the midbrain to actually grow, we have to be in our body. I lived in the gym. I deadlifted at 300 pounds once. Yeah, my midbrain grew. I was lifting a lot of weight, doing a lot of uncomfortable things, but did it grow to my advantage to get me embodied? Not at all. Not at all. So this is where, when you show up in our ceremonies and you try on this body-mind synchronization framework, we're guiding you and pushing yourself to do the uncomfortable that is healing. We're not saying go to the gym and do something uncomfortable from your disembodied, disassociated state, because is it healing anything? No, the sole purpose to get your midbrain to grow is to heal. That's the only way we can truly exit cognitive dissonance, because we can go through the motions all day long. We're not healing anything, because if we ever want to truly be free from Maya or illusion, we have to start shifting the scale. So in Kali Yuga, if we are 25% connected to our divinity and we're constantly disembodied, disassociating, then how is it that going through the motions and doing something uncomfortable, but never shifting that scale from trauma self is online all the time to higher self is 25%, maybe hiding back in the distance? How are we ever going to shift the scale to be able to discern? We have to get it at least to that point of, okay, higher self is at least somewhat embodied. It doesn't have to be 100% embodied, because that means then we're 100% connected to divinity. Well, that's the journey of self-mastery. But at least the more your higher self is embodied, you're not just going through the motions, then you can begin to discern. Because now your higher self can feel in and go, this is a higher truth. And the question that I asked a recent brother of ours, especially regarding this whole, Israeli-Palestinian conflict, this war that's going on, is your higher self Israeli? Is your higher self Jewish? And immediately, oh my God, no, that's how you discern. Because the programming says, well, you're Israeli, you're Jewish, you're this, you're that. It's just like my programming says I'm American, I'm this, I'm that, I'm blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, is that my higher self? No. And that's a quick, easy way for discernment. So whatever it is that you are trying to discern, well, is this true or not? Check in. How does this impact my higher self? Would my higher self care? Does my higher self have a point of view? Is my higher self attached to this as a label? If no, well, then that's programming that I've bought into. That's an identity that I've connected with and labeled as that keeps me stuck.
Now, one of the questions that people would ask, and they should be asking, is how do I know? And so for different people, we can't speak. There is no cookie cutter one answer will answer that question. That am I discerning from my higher self or my trauma self? How do I know that whatever practice that I'm doing, is it working or is it not working? Is whatever modality that I'm doing, is it healing or is it not healing? Oh, I do yoga, so therefore I'm healing. But if I'm going through, like you say, and I'm doing the asanas and I go through my hour and a half yoga poses, and I wasn't even present in my body, I didn't take myself to the limit, I wasn't conscious of my breath, my brain was thinking at 2,900 thoughts per hour, which is what your brain thinks. How was I even present to know, did I even do yoga? Did I even remember any of the limitations? So one of the things that we always mention to people when people ask us, so how do you, Kumar and Shelley, how do you know that what you're doing is working? How do you know that this is your truth? And for us, it's a simple answer. All we have to do is we stop. And for me, I do this several times during the day and just check in and go, are you happy? Are you contented? Is this how you imagine life? Do you understand why you're here and what you're doing? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you're living your life's purpose? And for us, we always have, how do we know what we do is working? Because we still wake up every morning and pinch ourselves and goes, wait, whose life is this? How did we end up here? Look, Monday was a good example. We looked at the weather and we're like, oh
There's
shit,
chemtrails.
there's chemtrails, but you know what?
Gonna change.
The weather's going to change. Let's go. So we jumped in our truck and we went to a waterfall and spent the rest of the afternoon in the middle of the day on Monday, just exploring for like 3 hours up and down this river and waterfall. And we're
Pure
like,
magic.
wow, this is our reality. While the rest of the world, and I'm guilty of it, I did it for over 40 years. While the rest of the world is slugging away, worried about mortgage payments and car payments and insurances, and do I keep my job, and AI going to replace me, and all the myriad of things that are happening. What's my reality? Holy shit. I don't worry about any of that. And I'm not rich to say, well, oh, I have unlimited. I'm just like, wow, my reality changed where I no longer, feel that I need to be connected. I can simplify my life, which is exactly what we had to do.
Many times.
Simplify our life. We literally moving here, stripped our lives down to 13 suitcases.
And then a follow-up 9 suitcases.
So
22 in total.
This is like strip it down to just the basics. Walked away from everything, gave away whatever we could. No attachment to any of it. Had a
custom-built home.
Yeah, on the beach.
On the beach.
And walked away from it so that we know that how is our reality now? Wow, I still wake up with tears in my eyes that I'm living here. This is my life. I see parrots. I see toucans. We go for monkeys that visit us at the homes. Like, whose reality is this? Like, growing up, again, you guys have heard me say this, growing up as a poor sugarcane farmer, one of 8 children, living in a 3-bedroom house, I couldn't even imagine living the life that I'm living today.
Well, and let's look at that as coming full circle to the caste system. You chose to exit the caste system.
Absolutely.
You could still be in Trinidad living the way some of your brothers are living, where they're still stuck in that poverty consciousness despite having money, despite being retired. They're still living in that lower income level as though they have nothing, even though they have.
Absolutely.
And that's cognitive dissonance too. It's, as we always say, you have a lot of ex-coworkers who you're questioning, when is enough enough? Like, when is enough enough? Got to keep working more. I need more money, more toys, another big boat, another house, another this, another that. Like, when is enough enough?
Because, and I know we're running out of time, so I will address that. That's something that I hear from my colleagues all the time in the corporate world, that I still, the few of them that I still stay in touch with. They're like, you're the freest person that we know. How did you do what you did? Like, how did you literally unplugged and pulled the parachute and you were gone. You're just living life. You send pictures from the beach, waterfall, hiking, driving around. Like, is every day a vacation? We're like, yeah, pretty much every day is a vacation
for us. Absolutely.
We grow our own garden. We take care of ourselves. We take care of our little monkey. So every day is a vacation. But we did it with so little money that it would shock people that it's possible, especially when you're living in North America. You really suffer from that cognitive dissonance because you tell yourself you're still believing that this is the freest country, the most opportunity, all the stories that you've been programmed to tell.
Safest country in the world.
When you're looking at it, if you can pull yourself out and look back into it and go, none of this is real.
You could not pay us $1 billion to move back to the US.
At all.
At all. No way.
Because, I mean, you think you have freedom until you live outside. Where, look, again, I'll use Monday as a good example. Just you and I in the middle of nowhere, and we just take off and go hiking and not even stop to ever think about who's following us. Are we going to be safe? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. Nothing. We're just like gone, enjoying. Look at the butterflies. Oh my God, let's get into this pool. Let's swim over there. Let's go.
And then we stopped by, these poor people's home and bought their coconuts. And then next day employed 2 of them to be our gardener and house cleaner because they need work. So why not? Let's help them out.
So this is how we check into whether or not it's what we talk about is working.
Well, and all we got to do too is look at our body.
Yeah.
When we look back at pictures, wow.
Oh, we
and I
both
know
competed.
before, yeah, so we both competed, and I know we've cut out meat and alcohol, which created us being more inflamed. But when we look back at our pictures, we lived in the gym and we were never this fit for
This lean.
quote
Yeah.
unquote, never going to the gym. Don't need a gym when you have a daily practice. And
We
a lot
said-
of people think the daily practice is, just breathing and sitting and meditation. It's not.
We survive on 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and yet we have full energy all day long.
1 to 2 meals a day.
2 meals a day. Yeah.
We can fast. I mean, we're shattering all of these beliefs and illusions that we once gave our power to, especially around this concept of meat. A lot of people think they need meat for protein, to grounds, to blah, 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 whatever the story, reason, justification, or excuse is. But again, it's just been a lie that's been perpetrated that you gave your power to, that cognitive dissonance now says, no, you need meat. You better not give it up.
Or you need that next drink, or you need whatever
it is. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us in today's live. A few announcements. There is a womb steam ceremony this evening from 8 to 10 for all the women out there. Saturday is the next womb kriya ceremony. We're diving deep into transmuting all the undigested shit that basically keeps you disconnected from your inner child. That's from 10 to 11:30 Eastern. And then Sunday is the next men's Hara Kriya ceremony, same time, 10 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And both the Womb Kriya and Hara Kriya ceremony are free if it's your first time.
if it's your first time.
And then our next ceremonial book reading is Friday, March 14th in honor of the lunar eclipse, which also falls on the full moon, which happens to be a blood moon.
Beautiful.
So we've got a lot of big cosmic alignments coming up to help shatter these veils of illusion. And whatever cognitive dissonance shows up, feel free to reach out and ask us questions.
We're happy
And
to
then
answer them.
we will, and we look forward to seeing you in a ceremony soon.
Thank
Have
you,
a beautiful
folks.
day.
Much appreciated.
Bye-bye.